Michael Bradley called into U.S. men's national team duties. How does that affect your preparation heading into D.C. this weekend?
We'll have to find a different attacking midfielder. Actually, the role he was playing anyway. Yeah, I mean it's a challenge because it's actually not in the window, and so it's not exciting to see him go. But that's part of the responsibility that he has in playing for club and country, and so he'll be there. We'll make the adjustments that we need to make, and we'll continue doing what we're doing.
Was there any sort of thought or discussion about not letting him go? As you said, it wasn't in the window.
Yeah,
so
there was a lot of thought and discussion and ongoing discussion, and it wasn't until the final hour that things worked out the way they did, and it is what it is.
Can you talk about it? Like who were the discussions with? What was the substance of the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, it's just between everybody that's involved in the situation, the soccer federation, ourselves, the league, everybody, and the magnitude of the game, and but also us in terms of our season and the importance of the game for us, and various things. So I mean, it's always a discussion. The game, it's the timing of the game is poor because there's a window, and if the game was in the window, it would be very clear for everybody. But also all the other clubs who release their players as well, and so it's kind of it's one of those situations that everybody is working together for a solution.
Does it bother you? I mean, MLS doesn't sort of stop for the window, and now it seems like the USSF isn't either. I mean, what's your frustration level with this?
Well, I think it's something that has to get worked out, and we as a club are taking steps to do that from our perspective, and hopefully by next year we'll have that solved. That doesn't change U.S. soccer from putting games in non-window sort of time periods, but if we can block out and do the appropriate thing to make sure that our guys don't miss or have challenges during windows, then we can say you're staying here during non-window games, right? So it's an evolution that the league is working towards, and we as a club are trying to be in the forefront of that, and at someday the calendars will mesh and it will be appropriate. So.
Is that part of the risk that you guys take when you sign international level players and knowing that sometimes they're not going to be available?
Yeah, for sure, especially with the way the league runs and that teams play a lot of times through those windows. Yeah, it's a risk, but at the end of the day, you have to have some depth, and you have to believe in the quality of the guys that you have and the international players, and knowing that you'll miss them sometimes, but their stature and importance and the games that they're here are is really important. So.
Sebastian Giovinco named MLS Player of the Week. How much do you think that he's raised the level of expectation internally in this club, seeing players maybe raise their performance levels?
I think Seba's been amazing, really, especially in the last few games, but really the whole year. But we kind of knew it was coming because we would see it in flashes, and we'd see it in training, and we'd see it in games, and now just the more, again, that the team starts to work with him and find him in areas, and the more he sort of assumes the responsibility and role to make things happen in the attacking third, that you're starting to see him on the ball more. We're at home, which is always exciting. It gets the crowd going. So we could kind of see it all kind of coming, and for me, I'm just excited every day that we come out, whether it's training or game, to see what he comes up with next, because he's clearly a special player who can do a lot of things.
We saw in the last game that Justin Morrow took a bit of a knock. How is he feeling lately?
Yeah, Justin's good. He was fine. We managed him minutes-wise today in training, just because, for no other reason than because he's played a lot recently, but he's fine.
Greg, without giving away trade secrets, I mean, you said at the end of the last game that defenders are having a hard time figuring out Giovinco. Have your own defenders maybe slightly figured him out, or is Giovinco still tormenting them in training too?
Yeah, he still torments guys in training. I mean, the fact of the matter is he does a lot of things very well, and amongst all of those things is he's very clever, and so he's able to move around the field and find gaps and spaces that are difficult for defenders to determine who has whom, right? And because he will drift outside, it's hard to man mark him. He'll drift into central position, so it's just hard to track him down. And he's so quick that you think you want to get tight to him, but you get tight to him and he spins you, right? You also get tight to him. He's strong on the ball and he wins his space well. So there's a number of things that he does. He makes it very difficult for people to deal with him, and really even collective groups to deal with him. So again, it's for us, it's just keeping him involved in the games at all times and allowing him the opportunity to do his thing.
Ashton's going to be recalled by the Canadian national team. I don't think it's out of line to say a year ago that probably wouldn't have happened. Since you've taken over, what have you seen sort of in his development to get back to, where he's not only a starter for you guys and a regular starter, but he's being called up by the Canadian national team?
First off, I think it's very well deserved. I don't know that I've watched a lot of the league, and I'm not sure if there's a better left back in Canada right now in terms of his performances, so he deserves it. In terms of his evolution, a big part of it is confidence and belief, I think, and somebody who believes in him. And then he's able to, I think, to relax and play a little bit and do some of the things that he does very well. On the other side of it, there was a few things that we wanted to adjust in his game that we thought that would, from a decision-making standpoint, from being less aggressive in certain situations and controlling things and allowing his speed and quickness and to be an asset versus getting himself into challenges that maybe he didn't need to get into, and learning how to manage the position and the decisions in the position a little bit better. I think all of those things have just led him to finding a great little niche and comfort zone in what he's doing, and for me, he's very good at also getting into the attack and creating some offense out of the left side. That's when I saw him many years ago as a young player. That was the one thing that stood out to me was here's this young kid who's bombing up and down the left side. He's got a nice left foot. He hits a good cross, creates a lot of problems for the opposition. And now we've kind of given him that freedom to do that, but at the same time made some of his decisions defensively and some of his actions defensively a little bit clearer, and I think he's just really settled in and is doing a great job.
So he's become a smarter player?
Yeah, I think his choices are better, and as such, he's taken less cards. He's been in less sort of the challenges that are where guys scored out on the other side of him, or he's trying to bite on something and guys getting backdoor on him. He's just making, I think, very good, sound defensive decisions and proving that he's a very good defender in addition to the things that he can help us with going forward.
Mark Bloom was training today. Is he fully recovered? Can we expect to see him back in the 18 on Saturday? What's his status?
He'll be available, I think, for the weekend. Today we used him, what we call a neutral, which is it's a smaller field. It's not a wide open field quite yet, and he was most of the time as a neutral player, but the idea is that he would be able to progress through this week, and physically he's in good shape and good form, and now it's just for us to get him again sharp and plenty of repetition in training. But I think he will be available for the weekend.
And Colin and Joe, what are their statuses?
Joe is progressing. He's looking good. He's training all out. So again, he'll be available for the weekend. And Colin is taking steps. We're not quite sure, but we're hoping he takes steps to be available on some level for the weekend. We just don't know how much.
With the emergence of Ashton Morgan on the left, you've moved Justin Morrow over to the right. Is that going to be a new position for him? Or is it going to be the battle again once Mark Bloom comes back to see who starts on the left?
No, it's tough to say. I mean, I take it kind of day by day, game by game, and we check the form of everybody, the number of minutes, make sure everybody's there. But for me, every position has a competition. I think Justin has been outstanding on the right back. I think our back line, most importantly, as a collective group, has been very solid in the last several games, and that to me is it's sometimes more about that collective group than it is about any one individual. And if the group is solid, then we're happy with where we are. So for Mark, it's just to continue to get healthy and to get his decision making. He hasn't played many games since late last year, and so it's one thing to be out on the training field playing, and then it's a whole other thing to be in the stadium and making good, sound defensive decisions with your collective group. We need to make sure he progresses on that way, and then he becomes an option, a real option for us. So we'll see as we get there. We're not quite there just yet, I don't think.
And just maybe an update on Josie and Stephen Caldwell as well?
Josie is he's doing well. Again, it was physically he's feeling like he's in a good place. It becomes sort of us managing between how he feels and where this little injury was, in terms of the high hamstring up towards the tendon. And so it's a real fine line in terms of when he's physically ready and when he's actually ready. So, but he's feeling great and he's doing, he's progressing. And so we'll kind of keep managing that situation over the course of the next couple weeks and see how he's doing. As far as Steven, he's we needed to shut him down for about 6 weeks to allow the injury to give the body the time to heal. I think he's approaching that 6-week mark, so I would say within the next week or so we should start to see him out on the field and starting to build up his fitness and sort of game playing, if you will. So I think he'll need a little time still to progress on that side of things to be match fit.
Is the expectation that you're going to lose him for the Gold Cup, or is that still sort of in the air?
I don't know if it's in the air, and I don't know if I really have an expectation. I have hopes, but I don't know if I have a real expectation yet. We'll see how it goes as we get closer.